Today in Lesson 19, we're going to be dividing 2 and 3-digit dividends or wholes by multiples of 10, and then we're going to relate that to the written method or the standard algorithm. We're going to take all the things that we've learned in Lesson 16 through 18 and start applying them in a more broad way. We'll be working with 70 divided by 30, and step 1 is to identify the whole and the divisor. And the whole is what we are distributing, and the divisor would be considered about how many groups. So we have 70 as our whole, and we're dividing it by 30, our divisor, or the number of groups. Step 2 in our estimating sequence is to round the divisor. This divisor is easy because it is already rounded to the nearest 10 for us, so we're just going to keep it the same at 30. Step 3 is we're going to round the whole to a multiple of the divisor. And step 1 in that process is to rename both the whole and the divisor. So our rounded whole is 30, which we can round to 3 tens. And our whole is 70, which we can also round to tens, and we could round that to 7 tens. Now we want to think of what multiples of 3 from our divisor are, and we just skip counting by 3. So we have 3, 6, 9, and you could keep going, but I'm going to stop because I've reached the number that I needed. And now I'm going to ask myself, which one of these multiples of 3 is closest to 7? And I see right away that 6 is really close to 7, so I can rename my whole as 6 tens. And then step 3 in this process is to write both numbers in standard form. So we have 60 divided by our 3 tens, or 30. And I know that 30 can go into 60 2 times, or like 30 plus 30 equals 60. So my estimate here is 2. Now I'm going to start relating our estimation to our written method, or what we would call our vertical algorithm. So step 4 is to set up the original problem in division. And our original problem, we had 70 as our whole, which is what we're dividing, and we're dividing it into 30 groups, or our divisor. So here, this is read as 70 divided by 30, so you can think of it as like backwards. So step 5 is we want to write in the estimated quotient, then we'll multiply and subtract. This is where this value up here comes into play. If we estimate it down from our original whole, we can use this estimate as our first quotient number. And because it is in the ones place, you want to make sure, just like multiplication, that you're lining those numbers up. So we're putting this 2 here because we're saying that 30 can go into 70 twice. And then we are multiplying. So we multiply 2 times 30, which is 60, our rounded number from above. And we write that here. We line up the numbers. We line up the place values, and then we subtract. And we have 0, and then 7 minus 6 is 10. So we have a remainder of 10 right now. Now once we have a remainder, we want to make sure we ask ourselves, can we make another group of our quotient, which in this case is 30. So if looking at our remainder, can we make another group of 30 out of 10? Here the answer is no, because 10 is too small to make a group of 30. But if we could, then we did not estimate to the right number, and we need to go back and change our number up here. So we've identified that we can't make another group, so we know that 10 is going to be our remainder. So if you wanted to write that up here, remainder 10, you can, just so you know. So our answer to the division problem, 70 divided by 30, would be 2 remainder 10. Now we want to check our answer. It's always important to check your answer after you're finished. So for division, the way that we check our answer is we multiply our quotient, which is 2, by our divisor, which is 30. So we do 2 times 30, which equals 60. And then we want to add our remainder, which is 10. So we do 60 plus 10, which is 70. And then we check that against our original whole. So 70 against our original whole, 70. So we solved it correctly. Another way that you can show and check your answer is by doing a number bond. Your circle up here starts with your original whole, and then you show your 60, or your number that you can divide into, plus your remainder over here. So we have 60 and 10 equal to 70. Or we could also do a tape diagram comparing it against our original whole, 70, and then underneath we can show what we did to 70 to get our answer. And we had 2 30s, and then our remainder of 10. And we can see that 30, 30, and 10 is equal to 70. All right, let's try this again with another problem, 430 divided by 60. So first we want to identify our whole, 430, and our divisor, 60, or how many groups we're breaking it into. Step 2 is we want to round our divisor, and again, we don't have to round because it's already rounded to a multiple of 10 for us, so we're going to go with 60. Step 3 is we want to round our whole, and within that, we want to rename our whole and our divisor, so our whole will be 6 tens. And then to make it easier, I'm just going to round my whole into tens also. So I'm going to be rounding to my tens column. So that's 43 tens. Now I want to look for multiples of my divisor, 6. So I'm going to list out my skip counts, or my multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18, 24, and I'm trying to get up to somewhere that's close to this 43. So then we have 30, 36, and 42. I'm going to stop at 42 because I'm noticing that 42 is really close to 43. So I'm going to round my whole to 42 tens. Now I want to write in standard form. So I have 42 tens, which also is 420, divided by 60. And one easy way to figure this out is I can ask myself how many 6s are in 42, because we've renamed them both as 10s. The 10s would cancel each other out or divide by 10s. 10 divided by 10 would be 1, and then I'm left with 6 divided by 42, or how many 60s can go into 420, which is 7. So what that would look like basically is I'm saying 42 10s, I'm just going to represent that with a T, divided by 6 10s. And if I reorder them or regroup them, I can do 42 divided by 6 as one problem, and then my 10s divided by 10s as another problem, and then anything divided by itself, 10 divided by 10 is equal to 1. So that kind of basically cancels the 10s out, and I'm left with 42 divided by 6, which is 7, which is our answer. That's another way to think about that. Now we want to move on to our written method because we have our estimate of 7. So we want to set up our original problem. So we draw our division sign. Inside we put our whole, 420, and on the outside we put our divisor, or how many groups, which is 60. And again, this is where we use our estimate of 7, and because we rounded down, we're able to say, oh wait, not 420. This should be 430 from our original problem. So make sure that you are paying attention to what you are writing. So it should be 430. So we can say that 60 can go into 430 at least 7 times. And remember, you want to line them up because this 7 is in the ones place, so it needs to match the ones place over our whole. So I've placed it over the 1. Now we multiply 60 times 7 is equal to 420. So we minus 420. Which leaves us subtracting with 10. And then we want to ask ourselves, can we make another group of our quotient? And our quotient is 60. And we can say, no, we cannot make another group of 60 out of 10. So that is our remainder. Now we want to check our answer down here. So I take 60 times 7, which is our quotient multiplied by our divisor, and that would equal 420. And remember, the purpose of this is to make sure that we did our multiplication and division correctly. Then I would add my remainder, which is 10, and that is equal to 430. And then we check this against our original whole, 430, so we are correct.